Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra.
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people
Associated with the creation
Or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked,
and sometimes what didn't,
you will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts
And inspire you to do even greater things.
It's not often that people message us at the Software People Stories to say that they really want to share their experiences to help others. So when Sapna Jhawer, a senior technology leader with nearly 2+ decades of experience, messaged me, I said, please welcome. She shares her stories about how she landed herself from CA to doing CS, chartered accounting to computer science. Sapna talks about retail technologies and how Gen Alpha will become influencers and be influenced by generative AI. They will also act as bridges across generations using different kinds of technology, she says. Our conversation extends over 2 parts. So, good morning, Sapna. It's wonderful to have you on the Software People Stories podcast. A very warm welcome to you. So, Sapna, we usually start by asking our guests to introduce themselves to our listeners. So, how would you like to do that for our listeners today?
Sure. Thank you, Chitra. It's an honor to be part of this particular podcast. It is an honor to be speaking to you. I've been a big fan of Software People Stories and looking forward to this conversation, right? How do I want to introduce myself? I'm a simple girl, right now, just hit the decade which every female is worried about, and I'm enjoying it. And it's been almost 20 years or 2 decades I've been working with software industry, and I've been playing multiple roles both in personal life as well as professional life. Currently I'm working with a company which is a retailer, but we do have a lot of IT which we actually handle in the background.
That was a nice introduction. Thank you. Did you always know that you wanted to be a software engineer or study computer science? How did
Yeah.
that come to be?
So it is a funny story, right? I'm a Marwari girl. I always wanted to get into business because that I believe that business runs in our blood. That's how we are always brought up around, right? My dad was an exception. He used to work, and he was the only person in the entire family who used to work, right? And people with business would see you very differently. So I thought, being a girl and the kind of orthodox upbringing and the family exposure I had with, the societal exposure I had with, I thought I have to anyways get married. And if I have to work, then what is a profession which will allow me to get married and still work and have no issues? So a 10-year-old girl came up with an idea that if I become a CA, I can have office at my home. So I thought CA is my profession and that's what I have to do. And one thing which was very, very clear from my childhood is my mom telling me that you have to be independent. You should always have your hand up and not below. So that was something which was very clear that I have to work. So I was always trying to, the kind of frugal person and thought process I have, I was always like, okay, this is my situation and how do I solve it? So that's CA was my dream when I was growing up, because I knew I cannot be cutting or suing people. So medical was out of question. Engineering was never even the wildest dream for me. So when I grew up, everybody started, like we were a class of 19 who have grown up together and everybody was doing engineering. And I was peer pressured into giving engineering entrance. And I got through. And it was weird. And then I was very upset that, oh my God, I got through. Now I have to do engineering. And then I was like, well, computer science is not my love. I'm going to be doing electronics because that is something which I can do. And the only reason I want to do electronic engineering because tomorrow I'll do an MBA and I'll open my business. That was always the plan. And then when I got into engineering, uh, it was it was so much fun. It was such an inquisitive profession. My whole love of solving the problem with the existing condition came so true. And I loved electronics and telecommunication, which I was doing. So though I never wanted to do it, I ended up enjoying it the most. And after that I was like, okay, either you get into job or you get married. And at that time, I had tasted the freedom, so I didn't want to get married so soon. So I thought, okay, let me get whatever job I have. And I think I got passed out in 2005. That time, electronics was not a big boom in India. We had only a couple of companies which were into that particular field. And it was a very, very tough competition. And that's how I ended up in IT. So I had to really, really, hard to be able to get a job in IT because I did not have the programming background. I did not have the software background. But I think it was accidental I got in. But after I got in and kind of work I was doing, I started enjoying it to the core.
Nice, Sapna. Uh, I'll come back to asking you whether you really want to get back to business again because you say it's in your blood, it's around you, it's in your family. But until then, once you got into IT, uh, what was life like? What did you start out as?
Yeah, so I started as a quality engineer, and it's a dark side of me which I enjoyed. Like you have to just find mistakes, right? You have to make
Why do
sure
you
your
call it a
customer.
dark side? Why do you call it a dark side?
No, I've been always brought up in an environment where you're not supposed to point at somebody's mistake, right? You're supposed to cover it and grow from it. Because I was the eldest daughter in my family, and my
Very
youngest cousin.
contextual.
Yeah, so it was such a out of habit thing, but I enjoyed the mistake. So
Yeah. But how do you actually see why do you think that happens? When people write code and somehow it doesn't all fit together and
yeah, yeah.
you'll
I
end
mean,
up with
I mean,
situations.
yeah.
Why does that happen, do you think?
So when I switched into a programming role or development, where they're coming from, right? Because we are so obsessed with making it work, and our brain is focused, and to make sure that I mean, like we don't have a lot of time first. Second, because it's time bound. Second is that you don't have a lot of creative expressions or bandwidth in your head to be able to comprehend all the scenarios and see what could be possibly going wrong or right, and then code accordingly. And our traditional mindset of programming is not shift left strategy. We code and then we test. We don't test and then we code, right? So I think now the world is waking up to it, but I think at that time it was so defined and so time constrained that it looked like, okay, first you have to finish coding, and anyways there are people who will take care of it. If there are any problems, we will fix it later. So yeah, progress over perfection has been always the case with programming, right?
Yeah. Progress over perfection. Actually, it's more of, okay, let me get this done. I can show that it's working, and then we see
Yes,
what happens later.
yes, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So I noticed, typically when that happens, customers end up getting really upset.
yes,
So what have been some of your customer experiences like, and how have you
yeah.
handled them? How have you handled them?
Yeah, so I've been had an interesting journey where I've shifted my domain multiple times. Not domain, like I've shifted my stream multiple times, where I have done the QC part, the QA part, the programming part, the coding part, the release management part, as well as the customer part, where I was supporting the customers. And then I ended up enjoying the customer interaction so much that I actually shifted into the product part, where I actually, my only work is to talk to customers and come back and, comprehend them for our engineers. So there, what I understood was it requires a lot of empathy and the translation of empathy to handle customers. So everybody thinks that I don't know if they understand what we are trying to tell, because everybody speaks Greek and Latin, right? Engineers don't speak Greek and Latin, and customers don't speak Java. So it was a fun story to be able to translate both of them. So how did I handle such scenarios? Is like, I think I was blessed and equipped with both the languages. I could understand both the languages very well. So
Did
when
you
I used
speak
to,
Greek and Latin?
no, I am a polyglot. I don't speak Greek and Latin, but I do speak multiple languages. I speak around 8 languages. So
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So coming back to what customer, I think because I've been blessed with the family and I've been very observant kid and an observant adult, I think my the behavioral pattern as well as what kind of domains and the kind of domain I work in retail. All of my relatives are in retail people, so personification of a customer becomes very easy for me. So when you draw personas and you detail them out exactly, okay, this is a person, like let's say, Chitra is a person who wakes up in the morning, goes to shopping, and finds this kind of a thing. And then she has this kind of thing in her mind going on. She needs to find a dress for the baby. She needs to find a dress for the other lady, but the dress has to be such a good fabric that it has to be, comfortable enough. Hey, here it is having no chemical. All of those things, right? Or detailing of a customer and what's going on in her mind is being, I mean, I was able to personify the customer very well, classify them very well, and that's how I was able to handle. And but it wasn't easy. It came with a lot of effort and a lot of calls, frustrated calls handling, where you had to be only empathetic because it was your mistake, right? You did not think through all of those things. I thought as a QA and a programmer I've covered all the bases. It is not true. Product adds such a big perspective to the entire thing, that personification of a customer, understanding the customer to the T is a totally different game. So
Yeah,
there
that's a
were
hard
calls where I
one.
was told, you guys don't understand what we are trying to tell. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we will take care. Because I didn't have any other things to say. It was our mistake of not
So,
understanding the customer.
uh, so how did that come about? How did that understanding come about?
I think initially when I got into this role, I had very theoretical knowledge of product, saying, okay, this is the thing. You go ahead and you add certain questions and you answer those, you get the answers to those questions, you convert it into, probably a story where you're able to tell exactly what it is and an end of story. But there are so many things. Like, for example, I'll tell you a very interesting story where we were actually trying to get our we were a store only retailer and we were trying to make our mark on e-commerce, where we wanted to become omni channel, and we wanted to sell what we sell in our store versus on the online, right? So what we didn't realize is that the fabric touch and feel what you have in store, you will not be able to do that in the e-commerce, right? So the detailing at which the fabric, even the fabric detailing or the print detailing, the kind of attribution or the kind of detailing you need to do to be able to make the customer easily access, understand the product that person is buying, because there are typical different kind of mindsets, right? One person will buy it and then didn't like it, return it. That is still an end of, I mean, business loss for you. And then there are a few people who are very hesitant to even buy because they don't know what they'll end up with. The more detail we are able to get through, the more realistic we are able to get through to them, give them an experience which is very, very close to the store. That's how we will be able to mark our process. So there was one more case history which looks funny, but is such a big problem, that we were going with very standard sizes, correct? And every state, because this was an American retailer, I can talk about that particular thing. So every state doesn't have standard sizes. Like a Texas medium would be very different, or probably a person who will call themselves medium will be very different than a person who was in Minnesota, right? So we had to go down to regional level of detailing. Okay, this is what it is, this is what it is. And how could you still standardize the attribution that the product becomes so much easier for you to buy? So that is what was the main problem for us to have majority of returns, because we were, the bug what we had, or the feature which was missing, was somebody in Texas was ordering a clothing which was in Minnesota and was getting it after 10 days and wasn't getting the right size and was able to returns, and there was 20% jump in the return. So we had to build an entire logic, a lot of check and everything else to be. So that kind of thought process is what you need when you get into product, which is very interesting but challenging enough.
Yeah, it's an amazing level of detail because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, we're all individuals, and each one of us has, while you talked about size and feel of fabric, uh, for everyone, there's that other little thing that they're looking for, and you have to make it all fit, because from supply to
Yeah.
consumer,
Yeah.
it all has to work out.
Yes.
So, question to you: with all this advent of AR, VR, and experience, How
Yes.
do you do you actually land up? Is it possible to even um, get a customer to experience the fabric or get a feel for it while they're shopping online? Is it
Yes, yes.
possible?
So I think the technology has made great advancement in past 7 years, Chitra. I think AR VR has helped. Instagram Reels influencer with the similar body type has been helping, and the
Mm.
kind of detailing we can do in a photography, right? I mean, like you can go to a macro level where you can actually see what exactly the fabric is. If there are people who are so obsessed with getting the details, have that kind of an access to information to be able to take a decision on it. But I think these are all very expensive. That is where our technology has to be able to, if you go to any luxury store or any kind of luxury brand, you will be seeing all of this already there. I think getting to a day-to-day retail, I think we have to work to, as the group of technologists, we should be able to work towards a way where it becomes so economical that it is accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
But there are frugal solutions, that is signing up with, if you go to Misho, right? If you have ever been to Misho, so
Mhm.
Misho has done something very similar. They have a lot of, they definitely have scope of improvement, but I think they've already introduced this entire thing where they have this influencers who are doing, they have a similar body type or some kind of a taste to themselves, and they actually go back and do online selling. They do a video selling, and they do go back and wear it and show them how exactly it looks. So it's a cheaper one, in the sense, not cheaper in the sense cheaper, but more economical way of
More
doing it.
affordable.
Yes,
Yeah.
more affordable and more relatable also, because
Yeah.
human, how much ever AI VR model you want to do, if you see it on a human, it is much more easier for us to connect, right? So that
That's
plays into
right.
your psychology as well.
Absolutely. And then, even at the end of the day, I hear I'm not an avid online shopper. I mean, unless it's books that I'm chasing or something else. Uh, but usually when I ask people and compliment them on an outfit that they're wearing, it's a mixed bag of reactions. Sometimes people say, "Hey, I got exactly what I was looking for." Well, at the other times they say, "I miss walking into a shop
Mm,
and actually trying on something and feeling the garment on myself." So have you faced some of those
yes.
situations, and what is it that technology can offer?
Yeah, so technology has made a leap and bound of progress in terms of being able to that touch feeling still we have to get in. But I think how it looks like, what color changes will look like, and all of those things, that has made a great progress. So if let's take an example of Lenskart, right? So I think Lenskart was the first in its own to be able to put your face on a thing and experience it exactly how it looks like, and the frame would look like. So something similar, there are a lot of companies who are investing in a lot of R&D in terms of making sure that they are able to get the body type scanned in, and then be able to go ahead and experience this entire styling on them, of exactly it looks like and what could be. There's a lot of work in the AI ML area also, Chitra, where they are actually looking at, okay, what is your body measurement after you scan your body, and then what is the recommended styles and recommended sizes and fabric and all of those things. There's a lot of work which is happening. I think right now, I do not know in India if we were able to. We have a company which has cracked that particular code in, but I think that's where retail is going, where we have to offer our customer the comfort, the I mean, the joy of trying things, right?
Nice, nicely said, Sapna. Yes, I think that's going to be interesting and important as well. Yeah, I've seen retailers that try to ask you for as much detail as they can about significant body measurements, and
Yes,
then recommend that, let's say you go a size up for this kind of garment or a size down for this kind of
yes,
garment, and so on and so forth. And yes, there are retailers here who offer to do at least those three measurement changes for you free, so that you
yes,
can get it. So yeah, it's
yes.
going to be interesting to see how technology shapes, uh, personalized shopping.
Yeah. I
Absolutely.
am so excited for the space. I mean, just not retail space in terms of just
Mhm.
related to fabric or garments or our, day-to-day wear. I think we've been made a great progress. India is obsessed with jewelry. So if you look at
Yes,
how Bluestone is shaping up, how
yeah.
I mean, the kind of technological and the product and the customer experience they are investing in,
Mhm.
it's amazing. I mean,
So do you actually anticipate something like generative AI to say, okay, what are the, so let's say since we're talking about jewelry and clothes, is, hey, I want this fabric, uh, I want this look, okay, and then you just fill in a bunch of parameters. You actually make it descriptive. Better still,
yes.
you kind of just speak
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
to the query, I mean to the interface, and it sort of shows you the whole thing, and you say, okay,
Yeah,
take this
there
off,
are
add this.
companies. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
there are companies which are actually working on this, Chitra.
Mhm.
As we say, there are people, their engineers are putting their brain into their product. People are putting their brain. There are founders who are going door to door to get the investment for something similar. There
Mhm.
are things, and it's not very far-fetched. Probably
Yeah.
2 to 3 years down the lane, you will see this happening everywhere, where we
Yeah.
just say, pin and trust, right? The entire reason we had a mood board coming in is because, okay, this is what I'm
Mm.
thinking, and just
Mm.
choose some other thing, and then coming back and using that and inspiring an entire home look, the entire home design what we have, right? That's how it started. Same thing happens with, I mean, these guys, wedding planners and all of that, they actually do something similar for your wedding, for your look on the wedding. Okay, what kind of jewelry are you thinking? Okay, what is your mood? And then you give options and you put together a look, right? Right now it's a human brain who is doing it. Tomorrow AI will be able to do this.
I hope so. At
Yeah,
least
yeah.
I hope then it translates into
And everybody will be
availability
happier.
and affordability,
Oh,
which
yeah,
is
yeah, for sure.
something that definitely the Indian market is always aspiring towards,
Yes.
isn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So earlier it used to be our chachi, mami, and all of those people
Mm.
who were helping us out because we were not able to afford the designers, right? Like Sabyasachi or somebody like generative AI can fill that gap.
And of course, but I'm going to just leave this out there. We always need the approvals, right? The chatis and mummies are required for approval.
Oh, for sure, for sure. But then we don't expect them to, there's a lot of, I'll go through my personal experience, right? When I was getting married, I wanted a certain look,
Mm.
and everybody in my family were not approving of that look because there were some concerns around anything and everything, right? So, being a good girl, I did not say, I was like, it's okay. As special as it is for me, it is as special as for them as well because I am the eldest one. After a long time, they're having a wedding in families. I was okay. But in today's generation or the Gen Alpha, which is coming in, they are not going to be okay with it, right? So we have to find a middle way where chachis and mamis approve of certain things and they are able to get what they want. I think generative AI is going to be able to get that middle ground where both the parties are happy.
I think it's very interesting you brought that because when we talk about occasions, especially here, it's transcending generations,
Yeah.
right, of people that get involved. In fact, an analogy that I would look at is in healthcare as well. If you look at healthcare, if you look at banking, these are all sectors where, and given especially the our society, is we have digital first natives. We have ourselves who experienced both the, mm, you know, not very pervasive digital environments, but we are using all of it now. And then we have older people with us who sort of want to be part of the whole thing. So we constantly find ourselves acting as bridges, whether millennial, Gen Z, and like you said, Gen Alpha. That's a new thing for me. So thank you. And all of this constant, in cross um, cross technology awareness or interaction is happening, right? Uh, what do you have to sort of say about it? And because everybody thinks that hey, if there's an app out there, of course, the largest market share today is I think a combination of millennials and Gen Z,
Yeah.
right? But then very soon, this whole demographic or this whole segment is going to shift, let's say in another 15, 20 years into,
Yes.
the older segments where as humans we change and all of that. And then there's a very new cycle coming in. So, what do you think would be a right way of, you know, sort of bridging this whole technology-enabled decision-making experience?
Stay tuned for our next episode featuring the continuation of this conversation. We thank Siddharth for the music and Anita for promoting the Software People Stories.
If you like this episode,
Please subscribe on your favorite podcast client.
And spread the word in your network.
if you'd like to share your story,
Contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.